with the goal of improving the lives of Indonesians. DigiWeek is also part of our ongoing efforts to bring together experts, policymakers, industry leaders, and the public to discuss challenges and opportunities in Indonesia's digital ecosystem. And before we begin the panel discussions, we will have a photo session. We kindly ask all the participants here to turn on your video for the documentation. I'll be waiting for like a minute or two for everyone to be ready for the photo shoot. The screenshots, I mean. Okay. CIPS team, are you ready for the documentations? Yeah. Okay, I will count 1, 2, 3, and then we will have the screenshots. Okay, 1. Oh, everybody's ready? I still see some of us turning on our camera. All right. Let's have a screenshot. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, once again, 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, thank you. Yeah. So we're about to begin our third discussions for today. But before we start, I'd like to share a few important reminders. All DigiWeek 2025 sessions are open forums. That means we really encourage you to join the conversation, ask questions, share your thoughts, and help us deepen the discussions, because your input is valuable and help us make a greater impact. Because after the event, we'll gather the main insights and recommendations from all the sessions into a policy communique that this document will guide our continued policy advocacy and will be published on June 12, 2025, that everybody can download it from our website and our communications channels. Yeah, we truly hope that today's discussions will be meaningful and useful for everyone. The theme for this session is Embedding Social Sustainability in Digital Finance for Indonesia and the region. So Indonesia is leading the growth of digital financial services in South Asia, helping more people access finance and supporting ESG goals. But this fast growth also brings risks, especially for the social part of ESG. Many low-income and vulnerable people lack the digital and financial skill needed to stay safe, making them easy targets for scams, predatory loans, and misuse of financial products. These risks are made worse by unregulated platforms and aggressive marketing. This shows the urgent need for a national conversation about how to make digital finance more socially sustainable in Indonesia. So what can we do to create an inclusive, transparent, and responsible digital space? Let us delve into these discussions. I'd like to invite Mas Aji Satria, our Associate Researcher at CIPS, to lead today's discussions. The screen is yours, Mas Aji.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Today will be our third session for today, and hopefully everyone can still have the same energy and the same enthusiasm as we've had this morning, because this is the topic that is also quite important and also quite viral within the Indonesian context. And I know that there are global audiences that are participating in today's discussion. I think I see some participants from Germany, from Vietnam, from Myanmar. I think there's also one from the UK. I apologize if I do not recognize some of the names here, but I think it's suffice to say that this is a forum that is international, and hopefully we can learn a lot of things from Indonesia, and also Indonesia can learn also other things from what is happening across the region and also around the world. And I think that is an important theme for today's session, because the research itself is the webinar itself is part of a research project that we are currently undertaking, that is part of a global cooperation with international institutions as well. So I think I can share a little bit about the background. Yeah, so this is just to give you a little bit of a background of why we are having this discussion, and then we can have a discussion with the distinguished speakers here. I see that we already have Pak Junanto Herdiawan. I think he's joining in a couple of minutes. He's the head of central bank in the province of Lampung. So he can talk a lot about what's happening on the ground, especially for regions outside of Java. We also have Pak Roni Kasim. Good afternoon, Pak Roni. Pak Roni is the Secretary General of AFPI, which is the Peer-to-Peer Lending Associations. Can talk also about the social aspect of peer-to-peer lending. And then we also have Pak Andri Kusumo from Google, who will talk about the trust and safety aspect. So I think the underlying issue is, why are we inviting these distinguished speakers from central bank, from AFPI, P2P lending, from Google? Is that because this is part of the research project that we are currently undergoing, where CIPS is participating along with other contributors across the world to discuss the issue of sustainable digital finance. And this project is supported by GIZ. And thank you, and very much appreciated for the support of GIZ of this project that has been supporting us along the way. And the research itself is currently coordinated and will be published within the Global Center for Sustainable Digital Finance, which has two offices in the United States and also in Korea. And the idea is very simple, is to discuss what is sustainable digital finance and how it is implemented in practice across countries, including in Indonesia. And one of the one of the part of this project is to define sustainable digital finance. What is sustainable digital finance? And the term can be quite broad and can be defined as any kind of integration of digital technologies into financial product or fintech services to promote environmental sustainability, social inclusion, and also long-term economic resilience. So when we talk about digital technologies, then we talk about a lot of emerging trends that are currently being adopted, not only in Indonesia, but also across the world, such as artificial intelligence, big data, mobile platform, blockchain. Some has been quite adopted here in this country, but also there are also some, such as blockchain, that is probably still within the experimental or pilot testing phases. And how we want to integrate these technologies into financial products and financial services to promote environmental sustainability, social inclusion, and long-term economic resilience. So when we had this discussion with our other speakers, with our other researchers that is part of this project, the way we describe it is, in short, in summary, is an integration of ESG principles into digital finance, ESG being the environmental and social governance. And when we talk about ESG, the application of ESG within the digital technology, digital finance is quite broad. And during this research, we discuss and shared ideas and exchange knowledge with other regions that have different focuses, but also quite interesting. And we are talking about a lot of issues, such as how we can implement blockchain for environmental tracing, or we can even talk about the technology for carbon market, energy transition, and digital public infrastructure, and many more. So there are a lot of scopes of this term of sustainable digital finance. But when it comes to Indonesia, this is also CIPS is also raising when we are part of this project. when it comes to Indonesia, we think that the S aspect in ESG is stronger and is more relevant and more developed and have more have raised more issues than the E aspect. So I think the environmental aspect is still at the infant phase, at the beginning, at the preliminary phase. But for the S aspect, which is the social governance, is already quite developed, and we have seen a lot of issues that are having social impacts of digital finance issues that are having a social impact. So that is why we have the discussion. We want to focus on the S, on the ESG, which is in the social governance, and we do recognize that the social impact of digital finance have quite massive in Indonesia, because also the adoption of the digital finance platforms and applications. So here we are going to talk some of the issues across sector, be it payment, be it lending, or be it marketing, digital marketing of financial product or financial services that may have some elements of frauds, some elements of illegal activities, such as online gambling, for example, that is illegal in Indonesia and has raised a lot of social concern, scams, and how the level of public literacy and education may have impact on the consumer protection, on how regulators should respond, and how both platforms and the regulators need to address social dilemma and dimensions, such as the issue of overborrowing, how to choose the right services, how to choose the legal applications that are regulated, that are licensed by the regulator, and how these kind of practices can affecting the social dimensions of digital finance. So that is the background, and I think without further ado, let's start the discussion. I think I just want to see if everyone is here. So Pak Roni is here. Hi, Pak Roni.
Hello, good afternoon, Mas Aji.
Good afternoon, Pak Roni. Good to see you. And then we also have Pak Iwan. Good afternoon, Pak Iwan.
Halo Pak Haji, sorry. Thank you.
Siap, Pak Iwan. And also we have Andri Kusumo from Google. They are already joining with us. Good afternoon, Pak Andri.
Good afternoon, Pak Haji. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so let's have a discussion with the speakers. I think we can start with Pak Roni first. I think, Pak Iwan, I think while you are still preparing for the... Okay.
Yeah, maybe Pak Roni first. I will later.
Okay, terima kasih Pak Iwan. So let's start with Pak Roni. Pak Roni here is the Secretary General of the FinTech Lending Association, and also the I think also part of the management team, and also founder of peer-to-peer lending, and also credit scoring company, and also one of the pioneer in the alternative credit scoring services. So I think my question to you, Pak Roni, to just to kick off and start the discussion, do you see that the digital lending business have a social impact? Is there any risk at the social level that the platform or the services need to anticipate, and whether the industry as a collective within the associations have prepared some kind of responses or industry responses in order to mitigate and anticipate the impact of that social risk. Silakan Pak Roni.
Yeah, thank you, Mas Aji. I think you sum it up. Those are the key topics that all platforms in peer-to-peer fintech lending industry are talking about, right? So I think the short answer, yes, of course, peer-to-peer fintech lending does have, I think, in my opinion, right, significant impact or social impact, right? If you look at the history, probably around 7, 8 years ago, why, right? Why the industry started, right? And being quote unquote blessed by the government and regulator, in this case, OJK, because we in Indonesia realize that, there is still huge gap of the population that not yet have fair and affordable access to lending, right? I'm talking about lending from legitimate financial institutions, right? Like from banks and multi-finance, right? I think at that time, the gap was quite huge, right? Maybe 50 or more than 50%. This segment of the Indonesian, we call it, underserved or unbanked, right? So the one that not yet being touched by banks and multi-finance companies in Indonesia. So with the technology, right, combining this with, of course, financial skills, I think a few platforms started to operate in Indonesia. And the main objective is actually to help out these unbanked and underserved populations, right? So as you're aware, now there are about 96 licensed entities under full supervision of OJK, our Financial Service Authority here in Indonesia. And I think you could break this down, the type of based on the type of lending, right? So there's a consumptive and a productive, right? But I think the message here is, and I do believe have some slides, maybe if we could share to the audiences, just to give an overview, right? What the industry looks like and how much impact that industry have in in total. So yeah, so okay, thank you. So if we could go ahead, go to the so to the next slide, please. Yeah, so this is in summary, right, Mas Aji and everyone else. So more than 1,000 trillion, right, rupiah that already been disbursed through peer-to-peer fintech lending, right? And at the moment, I think this is based on May 2025. Year to date, there's a 77 trillion already for the first 5 months of 2025, right? TKB is a indicator of how healthy our loan portfolio is. So 100% meaning, all current. So at the moment it's 97.4%, right? So the trouble loans is roughly, 2.6% out of the industry, right? And then if you look at the lender, right? Lender mostly, like I mentioned before, mostly individuals or Indonesians that still in the underserved and unbanked categories, right? There are 2.2 million lenders. Sorry, lenders are both individuals and entities, right? But mostly now financial institutions like banks, right? On the borrower side, these are the one that we're serving, the underbanked and underserved. It's about 144 million, right? Up to date. So these are the impacts. So if you look at a typical Indonesians who borrow through our platforms, number one, the mom and pop shops, right? The one that in the past they rely heavily on loan shark. Like in Indonesian, we call it tengkulak or rentenir, right? Charge you very high, all right? And we'll go after you and your family if something wrong. if you don't pay in return. Now we help them out with interest that very affordable, right? Comparing to the ones that being charged by loan sharks. And second, I think what's most important is it will take you almost instantly to get the money, right? To get the cash. So that's a typical Indonesian who borrow through peer-to-peer fintech lending. A second category is the one that need emergency cash, right? So let's say, hopefully not, but let's say one member of your family, need to be hospitalized, right? And then you need extra funds to cover the medical bills and so on. You cannot go to the bank and ask for, I don't know, 2 million or 3 millions, right? It's going to take you quite process, going to be long time, right? And then by the time that you apply for the by the time you finish up the loan applications, it's too late, right? The hospital need the money immediately. So in this situation, you go to one of the platforms, apply, you get approved within seconds, and you get the money so you could pay your obligation. So I think these are some of the examples in where peer-to-peer fintech lending provides services to Indonesians that have some significant, impact socially. Mas Haji. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Pak. Probably some follow-up questions on that because you mentioned earlier that the fintech lending is targeting the segment that was traditionally were not reached or were not exposed to the conventional banking, such as banks and credit card. And I think that could go both from the probably from the lender or also from the borrower side. So probably you can elaborate more whether the lender side is also typically a segment that is already familiar or not with the banking system. But I think the question is whether this niche, the niche of the segment affect their level of financial literacy or also awareness of peer-to-peer lending product, and how does that create some kind of impact or social impact on the operations of the industry itself?
Yeah. So that's the story on the borrower side, right? So mostly unbanked, underserved, and then so you need heavy education, right? You need to educate them, right? So they understand, right? What's the impact if they don't pay back their loan on time and so on, right? Now on the lender side, as you're aware, we have we call it individual lender and institutional lender, right? On the institutional lender, mostly banks in Indonesia. So they are very sophisticated. They already understand the risk and return concept. Now, on the individual side of it, this type of, if we could call investments, right, or alternative investment, it's actually not, or it's actually for a sophisticated individuals, right? So if you are not aware, or if you have a limited understanding of the concept of investment or risk and return, and then probably this is not a good alternative for you, right? There's many other type of quote unquote investments that are available out there. It's more less sophisticated for you to understand. So this, I think, ties to the transparency. So I think it's mandatory by OJK that in the application, right? Once you download the application and try to quote unquote invest money through one of the fintech lending, there'll be a pop-up warning, right? This, your investment through this platform, it's naturally high risk because we are serving the unbanked and underserved. So please be careful, right? So if you're not a sophisticated investors, in this case, preferably this is not the type of alternative investment for you, Mas Haji. So that's the situation at the moment. Yeah.
Thank you, Pak Roni. I have some further follow-up questions, but I think let's move on first to Pak Iwan. Is Pak Iwan already back, Pak?
Yes, Pak Haji.
Yeah, Pak. I think because I will I think it's important to slide the way to you because Pak Roni mentioned about the level of financial awareness and also literacy and probably the need to make a distinction between sophisticated ones and also the not so sophisticated ones. So I think my question to you, which is very relevant to your role as the head of central bank in Lampung, the question is how do you see the level of literacy and also awareness of Indonesian consumers when dealing with digital finance and fintech products? Do you see what is happening on the ground that you think deserve attention that industry and also regulator need to address, Pak?
Yeah, thank you, Pak Haji. Thank you. I am now posting in Lampung, Lampung province. Province Lampung is close to Java, the nearest province to Java. Some people call it North Java because many Javanese people here. But as my experience, I've been working almost 30 years in the central bank, and I've been stationed to many cities in Central Java, in East Java, and mostly in Jakarta. And now I'm stationed in Sumatra. So the differences of the demographics is very important because Indonesia is a vast, very huge country. So we cannot give one policy and for all, especially if we talk about digitalization. In Lampung, this province mostly 9 million population, but mostly of the workforce here, the education is still low. Mostly 70% of the workforce in Lampung only graduated from elementary or junior high school. So that's the challenge if you want to go to the digitalization. So literation, education is most a very important thing. Digitalization is very important for us. We have the blueprint for the payment system for 2030 to boost the economy is using digitalization. So we are boosting, we are accelerating even in Lampung, also in Lampung to accelerate the digitalization. But as what you mentioned in the vision of the Indonesia payment system from the Bank Indonesia, the headquarter, we need to ensure the balance between this innovation and consumer protection and integrity, and also stability, and also healthy business competition. So that's one of the challenge here in province. But and I think in most of the province in Indonesia, we have the same challenge: the education and the literation of the people. Pak Haji.
Thank you, Pak. So I think a little bit diving deep on that. Do you see the social impact of digital finance also affecting the social and also community in Lampung? I know that there are several concerns, for example, on scams or fraud or online gambling. Do you also see that in across regions in Indonesia?
Yeah, I've traveled to most of the region here in Bandar Lampung. first of all, I see that the digitalization has helped a lot for the especially for the SMEs. Yeah, the Chris is one of the game changer in the digital payment. So in Lampung here is more than 1.3 million users with a 6.5 million volume of transaction. So this is a game changer, and also digital payment has helped many SMEs to the next level, so they can expose to the uh, their sales, their volume. But in other case, we need also to educate them. Most of the if they expose to the digitalization, they are also prone to kind of like uh, uh, illegal P2P lending, illegal, and also the gambling online. So that's also the problem that we met at the ground. And we have also many uh, consumer complaint also for about the debt collector or something like this, because if you go to the you have the loan there and the debt collector and the loan shark and everything kind of like that. So that's what we see in some of the region here.
Okay, Pak. Thank you so much, Pak Iwan. Let me move on to the third speaker before we ask you more question, Pak, because there are a lot of interesting issue there. So Pak Andri is from Google, and yeah, Google I think plays a lot of roles in ensuring trust and safety through various features that are available in the platform. I guess the question is, how do you identify lists of issues that have that list of issues within the digital financial services that have potential social impact to the users?
Thank you, Baji, for the question. It's a very good question and a very difficult one, because as you know, as digitalization occurs, as people spend more time online, I think the bad actors are also taking advantage of the situation and using new technologies to try and scam or trick users into losing money, for example. So maybe let me just focus on the frauds and scam space here, Pak Haji. I think one thing that is very concerning is that in 2024 alone, around $688 billion was lost to frauds and scams in APAC. And that amount accounts for nearly two-thirds of the whole global losses. So in APAC and in countries where we are still making efforts to digitalize, like Indonesia, people are still getting scammed by different methods. So from our perspective as a tech company, the one thing that we always try to do is to try and live by our safety by design principle. And what does this mean is that all of our products and features, as much as we can, we will always try and include protections for users. So we want to make it to a point where users don't have to actively look for features to increase protection, to protect themselves online. I think both our esteemed speakers have also spoken about education, which is an issue in the region. And so, with that in mind, digital literacy is not at its peak or at a very mature stage, I would say. So, having these safety by design principles will allow users to just feel safe and be protected as a default, as a base. And we do this through a couple of methods. One example that we have been successful with is our um, enhanced fraud protection in Google Play. So we recognize the prevalence of side loading, app-based scams in Indonesia that are not on your app stores, be it Google Play or any other app distribution services. So we launched the enhanced fraud protection through Google Play Protect. And what this feature does is that it scans and blocks suspicious apps automatically. So we prevent our users from downloading them, and also from this app to access sensitive user data automatically as well. But it also goes back to the education factor, where we also always try to share with users, not just in Indonesia, but all across APEC, that you should always try as much as you can to download applications from a app distribution services. So side loading apps is a source of scams as well. Another feature that we really rely on is our Google Chrome scanning. Again, both our speakers earlier also talked about how online gambling is a bit of an issue in Indonesia. There's a lot of scammy websites that pop up. From our end, we've been actively blocking online gambling and spam sites in Indonesia on a weekly basis. So weekly, we would block over 100,000 online gambling sites, and in 2024 alone, Google has blocked around 1.5 online gambling related ads in Indonesia as well. So back to your question, Baji, there's a two-pronged approach here. One is really ensuring that our platforms and features, our products, have that protection that users can rely on. And another, effort that we try is also increasing the digital literacy of our users.
Thank you, Pandri. So while we're still on the topic of features, is there any feature that is specifically addressing finance or fintech product? I think some of the issues that were raised with Pak Junanto, Pak Iwan before, like the issues such as over borrowing or aggressive debt collection, or probably interest rate that is above the regulated standard or threshold that is set by the government. So I was just wondering whether that those kind of features also address those issues, because I think I remember a couple of years ago, I don't know whether it's still applicable or not, but a couple of years ago I remember Google Play also set a certain prohibitions or ban of certain types of loan that are considered predatory or charging too high interest.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Baji. So we do have, prohibition of certain types of loans. One of them, short-term personal loans. Another one is also having restrictions on sensitive data access. We also ban unlicensed lending apps. So on our Google Play Store, for example, we won't have any lending apps that are not approved or in OJK's list, for example. So this helps to only really ensure that legitimate regulated entities can offer financial services through its platforms. So there's already back to the safety by design principle. We want to make sure that apps that are on Play Store, for example, are already adhering to local laws and regulations as well. And obviously, with all of our features, there's a whole set of policies that we have in place to make sure that the content is safe, the apps are safe. At the same time, we also really take into consideration regulations in the respective markets to a certain extent as well. So, these are some of the efforts that we put in to make sure everything's safe. But I think with these situations as well, Paji, one thing that we have really recognized and appreciate is the fact that it's a whole of society effort as well to combat these types of issues. We as industry really rely on the information sharing from government entities, from safety experts, and from CSOs and NGOs. And what we always try to do is to level up our information gathering, and we gather insights, and then we try and feed it into our respective policies to make sure that we are also up to date on every issue that may come across or may be new in the region, for example, just to ensure there's enhanced and up-to-date protection for everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Pak Andri. So let me go back to Pak Roni again.
Thanks, Pak.
Also, I think still within the same discussions on ensuring social sustainability. Pak Roni, I noticed that OJK Consumer Protection Department compiled complaints from different sources, also from consumers, and I think some of the top complaints with respect to peer-to-peer lending, fintech lending, is related to aggressive debt collection and also the existence of illegal apps. And yeah, I think those are the top two: the aggressive debt collection and also the existence of illegal lending apps. So my question is, how do you respond to that, and do you have any certain actions to minimize the negative impact of these kind of practices?
Yeah. So I think that is the impact, right? When you provide loans or lending to Indonesians with limited understanding of discipline in lending, or meeting your financial obligation and so on, right? So we realize that is the risk, right? So what OJK and AFP in this case have done is we include in our code of conduct, right, that all collection agents, number one, must be certified, right? There's no excuses, right? If they're not certified, if they're not being trained properly, then they're not allowed to perform any collection activities on behalf of the peer-to-peer fintech lending, right? So that's one way to manage this, right? Now, of course, there's some excess, right? So even though, because the collection agents' KPIs is actually how successful they are in getting the money back, right, from a defaulting loans, right? So we understand, right? There's a few of them still practicing unethical collections, right? If they got caught, right, performing these activities, their names, information will be included in what we call a blacklist of collection agents. So there's a blacklist database, right, that will be quote unquote shared by all AFP members, right, all platforms. But that's after the fact, right? I think what's more important is a continuous education also to these collection agents, right? Because without their help, the industry will collapse, right? So regularly, AFP in this case provide various trainings, right, and seminars, right, both online and offline, to all agents, right? So that's to keep reminding them, hey, there's a code that you have to follow, right, in providing these collection services, right, to the borrowers. So yes, this is the number one most quote unquote complaint that both the association and also OJK receive, right? And then we're working hard with all the stakeholders to address this issue, right? However, but please don't get it wrong, because we on the other hand is we have to be careful, right? If we have too tight of a regulation on this side of the practices, and then it's like you are defending the bad borrowers, right? So you have to be careful also, right? It is true there's a certain minimum criteria requirements that you have to follow. But just to give you an example, a regulation in which that not allowing any collection activities being performed after office hours, right? During weekends or public holidays, does actually have a significant impact to collection performance, right? So that's something that finally, we talked to OJK about this, and OJK came back to us and say, okay, you could still do that if you have customer consent, right? Before that. So if in the agreement you include asking the customers if you're okay, right? We contact you, right? After office hours or during public holidays or weekends. And they said, yes, I'm fine with that. And then we could still contact them and ask them nicely. Otherwise, right? Under normal scenario, no one will respond to any calls during office hours, right? So so this is just an example, Masaji, how the dynamics, right, in the collection business. It's not as simple or straightforward that we are thinking. Yeah.
I see.
Now on the second complaints, I think associations on the illegal, I assume, right? On the illegal or not legal platform. I think we understand OJKs, and thanks to Pa Andri from Google, right? Working very hard, right? To stop this of happening, right? But in reality, it's very difficult because there are 96 licensed peer-to-peer, right? With various names, and the illegal ones will do their best to copycat us, right? So the names will be very similar. They even, the logo is very similar. And at one point, they're not shy of using OJK's logo also, Pak Junarto. So this is troubling, right? Even now, OJK prohibit the legal ones to include OJK logos in our, publication and so on, right? But the illegal ones, you cannot stop them, right? So this is something that we have to be considered also. Yeah. So I know it's a tough homework for us to manage the illegal peer-to-peer fintech lending. But if you're looking at from the borrower's perspective, they don't really care, right? For them is who could serve them faster, right? That's most likely they will use, right? If you're in the desperate need of money, being licensed or unlicensed for them, it's maybe not the first priority, right? Maybe number one priority for you is how fast I can get the cash, and second, how costly, right? And then maybe the fourth and the fifth, okay, is this platform really regulated or not regulated, right? So that's my comment on the second complaint, Masaji. Thank you.
Probably let's talk about more exciting stuff, Pak Proni. Let's talk about the technology because you are at the forefront of various technological innovation that can help that have social impact, from credit scoring, big data, machine learning. So how do you see the development of these new technologies can support the social to the Indonesian consumers and society?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question or comment. I agree 100% with you. I think now is the time for us to really leverage AI or machine learning and etc., right? Because it will not only drive the cost down, but also you will have a much more, how should I say this? Not accurate, but accountable quote unquote results, right? You talk about credit scoring, right? Particularly the innovative or the alternative credit scoring. I know those players are really banking on AI, right? Maybe they partner with telco companies or e-commerce entities, or even now some of them collaborate with payment gateways and so on, right? This is where I think they could leverage machine learning and AI to produce a powerful alternative credit scoring, right? And the same with the licensed credit bureau, right? They also started to use machine learning or AI to understand, both the bank and unbanked profile of Indonesians, right? So it's a game changer. In addition to the credit risk environment, I know several platforms have used AI also for a more traditional practices such as customer service or even collections, right? So I'm seeing the trend now start moving away from analytical kind of technology to a more simple ones like customer service and collections and so on, Masaji. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Paroni. So I think the question is probably a bit similar to Pak Iwan, ya, Pak. How do you see the adoption of new technologies such as machine learning, of big data? Do you think that they will help social impact to Indonesian consumers, especially in areas where you are currently responsible? And I think a little bit of a deeper question is how do we prevent new technologies from being abused or misused? I think just for example, you mentioned earlier about Chris, and I know that there are some bad actors there that are trying to abuse Chris. Like I know, like for example, you change the Chris of one stall and then you change it to your Chris, so when they scan it, actually the money goes to another bank account. Those kind of things is an example of how technology can be abused by bad actors. But so how do you see the safeguard and also the development of the technologies?
Yes, thank you, Pak Haji. Yes, the technology, yeah, as if we see from the history, is always a double-edged sword. On the one side, it helps us many things, many people, like the farmers here, they are, and the SMEs here, helped by the technology. By the technology, they could sell their product abroad, beyond Lampung, the others, then increase their life. But on the other hand, there's like Pak Ronis and Pak Andri said, we have a problem also from the use of the technology. So this is the urge of consumer protection here. There are two things. First thing is how we as a regulator try to improve the regulation according to the international best practices, innovation, and technology. And the second is, as I always said, is a level of consumer literacy and empowerment. What happened, yeah, like many cases, like you said, like they used to crease, they people change the sticker, and they don't know how to use it and just send and pay. And so this happening in our to us, the consumer complaint. One of the consumer complaint is they already send, they already pay, but the money is not received by the merchant. So that if we check, and there's some of scamming, and also kind like that. And that's the easy use of technology. On the other hand, prone to the risk like that. So the consumer literacy is very important. What we do here is we almost every week, every day, we go to school here and also to the uh, village here, desa-desa, to the SMEs. Most of them are women because women is the important pillar in the economy, especially in the village. If you educate the woman, they will educate their children, they will educate their husband, and all in one shot, we educate the village. So we try we work together with the village, with the head of the village. We make many education class, the literation like this morning. OJK and Bank Indonesia, we go to we call it Desaku Maju. So we have in one village with IDX also, with banks, OJK and Bank Indonesia, we educate in one village. So this village, we make in every region. So we already have 5 village, and the governor of Lampung will replicate this village to all the region in Lampung. So most of all the like the education, literation, also the increase in the farming technology. So like the payment of the tax retribution using digital payment. So this just what we launched this morning with OJK, BI, IDX, and also IDX teach educate them how to use the stock exchange, so investment for the ibu-ibu in so that's one of the what we try to replicate also in many region. Pak Haji.
Wah, interesting, Pak. Is there any way for the private sector to participate or be involved in that program?
Well, of course, we have cooperate with what we call Indonesia Desa. They built the platform. They built one of the private sector, the many communities, young people there. I met this morning. They make the dashboard for the head of the village. So dashboard of like the farming, like the number of population, education, and also the payment. So the village have the dashboard for everything happen in this data village. So this is built by the private sector.
Okay. Thank you, Pak Iwan. I think before moving on, I just want to take a break of asking question and see if there's anyone from the audience who wants to ask anything to the speakers. Just please raise your hands. I think we have one from Kontan ya. Ibu Cynthia ada? Ada pertanyaan dari Kontan, Ibu Cynthia?
Yes, Pak.
Mau saya bacakan atau Ibu mau nanya langsung, Bu?
Dibacakan saja boleh, Pak.
Oke, siap. Oke, I think we have one question here from Ibu Cynthia from Kontan. Yeah, I think it's addressed to Pak Roni. First is related to AFP's effort to encourage people's literacy for fintech lending, and also how the existence of illegal loan can challenge the sustainability of the industry, and is there any way we can eradicate these illegal loans, Pak Roni?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Bu Cynthia, for the question. So I think if I recall, last year alone in 2024, AFP has initiated and led about more than 120 literacy kind of socialization event, right? So on average about 10 every month, right? Of course, This year we will do more, and we'll be focused outside Java, Bu. We realize in the past we concentrate more on Java area because that's where most of the borrowers location are. But now we realize that we need to go outside Java more often because this is where the gaps are bigger, right, in terms of financial literacy. So just to give you a heads up, next month in July, we'll have a big event in Sorong, Bu. Sorong, Papua, right? It will be a combination of financial literacy week. There'll be some CSR kind of activities as well. Visit SMEs over there, visit the local universities and so on. So those are one big upcoming event that RFP will host in east of Indonesia. Okay. To answer your second question, I think very similar to what Mas Aji already asked. I think, yes, it is still a big challenge for us, not just for the association, but also for OJK, the regulator. Because like I mentioned before, it's very difficult to take down all of the illegal fintech lendings, right? They use whatever it takes for them to survive, right? But our efforts is, I think, included in our socialization or education, when we educate the borrowers throughout Indonesia that, hey, once you realize that you borrow from illegal fintech, don't pay back, right? That way, right? That's one way to fight that, right? Because if you fight it through regulation, it's very difficult, right? Because they don't have the obligation to report to OJK, right? There's no connection there, so it'll be tough, I think, to do it, to manage that way. But I think the key here is to educate the borrower and also the lender, right? We are hoping, right, none of the Indonesian individuals or even local entities that provide financing through these illegal platforms, right? Hopefully that's not happening, right? That way, that will also push the illegal ones to lower or minimize their activities, right? Because of the funding constraint, right? So those are the two things probably we could have a direct, impact to the illegal ones. Other than that, I think we are banking heavily with the efforts done by ComDigi, right? The Ministry of Information and Digitalization of Indonesia, together with OJK and our partners from Google and so on, to help us out. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Paroni. I think there's also one question from University of Queensland. Pak Faidol is Pak Faidol here?
Hello, Pak Aji. Do you hear my voice? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, it's a very great event. I mean, this is very new and particularly in Indonesia. So yeah, for me as a schooler, I see this embedded finance as something new. I mean, like a new, I could say like initiative, maybe like a collaboration between the government and private sector to initiate a financial inclusion by banking the unbanked or maybe the underbanked population, by allowing them or maybe include them to access or maybe use financial or maybe formal financial products. But the question is, how about the regulation? I mean, from the AFP as the extension of OGK, because like as Pak Junanto said, there are some regulation, but focusing on the customer, how to literate them. But I try to be more I mean like deeper to see this phenomenon or maybe the situation, because I think it could be something more some potential like more like a driving customers, or maybe um I could say like a marginalized people being more like getting some drawbacks or being more dependent on the platform, because like the embedded finance itself is not as simple as money lender in traditional way, like something like uh borrowing money and pay the amount of money plus interest. But it's not simple as that. There are some services fee that maybe a customer not understand about it. So how about the regulation that focusing on the private sector, because there could be something more um potential of predatory or maybe exploitations, like imbalance power relation between platform lenders and borrowers. I think the borrowers could be more could be exploited, because like something that they couldn't understand. And we can see that the phenomenon already happened like a default. Many people protest about default because they couldn't pay the interest anymore. So in the middle of the process, they even like there is some group on like online group, WhatsApp, um Telegram, like developing strategy how to default from the I mean like embedded finance, like peer-to-peer, as a Pak Ronald presenting. So yeah, that's my question. How about the regulation? I mean like the institution itself, I think I'm not sure, but I perceive that AFP is like part of the institution for to regulate this kind of initiation or maybe technology embedded finance. But how about the regulation, particularly to the platforms, the private sector? Is there anyone of the regulation, or just like a void, still void?
So
Thank you. That's my question, Mas Aji.
thank you, Pak. So I think before answering the question, I just want to clarify that AFPI is not a regulator. It's a industry association. So probably Pak Roni can share about the initiatives that you have collaborated or in partnership with regulators, and how does the relationship work between you and the regulators. And I think also while we are in this topic, there is also one question that I forgot to ask Pak Andri. So probably you can share a little bit after this, Pak Andri, on how do you partner with regulators, not only in Indonesia but also around the world to make sure compliance, and also what happens when you have standards that are different from the local regulations, whether how do you sync and balance the two? So I think Pak Roni can go first.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the questions, Pak Faidal. So yes, but AFPI is an association. AFPI is not yet an SRO or self-regulatory organization, right? Unlike IDX or Indonesian Stock Exchange for capital markets, we are not like that. So the main regulator is still OJK, right? And OJK has issued so far 3 main regulations on peer-to-peer fintech lending, Pak. So the first one is POJK 77, and then POJK 10, and finally, earlier this year, POJK 40, right? So the regulation is very complete, right? And it ranges from minimum capital to collection activities, but even technology side, what we could access, what we cannot access, right? For example, if you're a peer-to-peer fintech lending, you may only access, we call it camilan, camera, microphone, and location, right? From someone's handphone, right? Or mobile phone. Now, in regards to responsible lending, there's quite a few regulation that we must follow, right? In order for us to help out, so there won't be any over indebtedness, right, to the population. So for example, there's a maximum number of Indonesian that could borrow up to 3 platform, Pak. So let's say you already borrow from 3 platforms, and then you try to borrow to the 4th platform. This plot platform will not approve you. Okay, so association manage what we call a fintech data center. So all platforms, legal ones, have access to this database, and they could check, right? If a new borrower already borrowed to the maximum number of platform, which is 3, right? So that's a limitation on that one. Another example to manage this issue is we're supposed to also calculate the capacity, right, of this borrower, right? So although at the moment it's based on a self-declared income, right? And then you compare that with the total debt of this borrower. Again, both from FDC, we could get this information. There's certain threshold that OJK allow us to approve a loan, but so those are just some of an example that OJK, in this case, the main regulator of these digital lending activities, have issued to help promote responsible lending. Faidal, thank you.
Thank you, Pak. Pak Andri, silakan, Pak.
Thanks, Bob. So going back to your first point, or first question rather, on maybe collaborations that we have with the public sector, I can name a few that we have around the region. The first one is our partnership with the Singapore government. So in particular, the Government Technology Agency of Singapore, where Google Cloud has partnered GovTech Singapore to better protect Singapore from online scams and phishing. So under this partnership, what we basically do is Google Cloud Web Risk will provide threat intelligence on malicious websites and phishing pages through various APIs. And what we do then, the information will be used to block access to these malicious websites and phishing pages. So we rely on additional information from GovTech, from the Singapore government, on new scamming websites, new impersonation websites, for example. There's a lot of there used to be a lot of websites impersonating government entities, for example. I think Paroni also mentioned, when they change, they use a typo, people fall for it. They use an old logo, an old name of a government entity or group. So these are the types of things that we try to capture. Very recently, which just back at the end of April, we've also announced a partnership with Taiwan's Ministry of Digital Affairs, also in just to focus on improving people's safety online. And this partnership also involves information sharing on scam trends, promoting international collaboration on anti-scam efforts, and also developing solutions to better detect new trends that are very specific and very localized to each market. We also have the Global Signals Exchange. This is a new initiative that we have partnered with the Global Anti-Scam Alliance, also known as GASA. So this Global Signals Exchange is essentially a platform that allows participating organizations, both from the public and private sectors, and also CSOs and NGOs, to exchange signals and alerts about scams in real time. And this is a very new initiative. But even in the first quarter of 2025, we have about 10 million signals received, and also 4 million shared from Google's side. So it's a new initiative that we launched last year, but it's increasing, and we also want to make sure that more organizations can tap into the Global Signals Exchange, can give their signals, give their insights into the platform. But most importantly, as tech companies, we also want to make sure that all this information can be used to better enforce and better protect our users at the end of the day. So there's also the Priority Flagger program, where basically organizations, both public and private sector, also can notify us of potentially harmful and fraudulent content online. As of 2025, we have roughly 100 scam flagging partners. Right? So they have a dedicated channel to straight to Google to inform us of policy violations, for example, that will be reviewed at a priority. So then that kind of leads me into your second question, Paji, on like how do we balance, the local laws and regulations with Google's policies. In essence, I guess what we always try to be is to act as a responsible intermediary. So we do respect, local laws and regulations, but we also ensure that our policies are first taken into consideration as well. So with that, what we try to do is we will have legal scrutiny of each request that comes from government entities, for example. And what this essentially means is that we want to ensure that requests are made through appropriate legal channels that we have from the requesting country or the requesting government entity. And what we want to do is we evaluate every request to ensure it's legitimate and complete. And this means that as long as the appropriate channels are used by the entity that we work with, we will always follow and review them accordingly.
Thank you. Thank you, Pak.
Thanks, Pak.
There's also one question. It's a very difficult question. I think Pak Iwan must answer this because it's very difficult. So only Pak Iwan can answer. From Mbak Felipa, University of Oxford. Mbak Felipa, do you want to ask the question or you want me to read out the question?
Halo Mas Aji, boleh dibacakan aja silahkan. Thank you.
Okay. It's a bit long and difficult, but I think the essence is how do you measure programs for customer literacy? I think Pak Roni also mentioned there's already 100 something events last year, and DI and also with OJK also did a lot of financial literacy programs at Java and also outside of Java. And how do we make sure that all of these are effective? And this is very interesting because Mbak Felipa said people tend to forget about it in emergency situations. So when you give the education, they will understand, but then when they need money, they just forgot about everything. Gimana Pak Iwan?
Yeah, very interesting. Measurement is a very important thing, but sometimes and many times people always forget it. We make event, we celebrate, and we forget it. And the next morning we do another things again, the same things again, and do effort and never measure everything. So this is a very important thing in Bank Indonesia. Also, I spend also many years in communication department, and the measurement things also very important there. So in education and literacy and also this program, measurement is very important. So what we do is first is we need to make sure we know how many program we have, and after that we need to do we do the pre-test and the post-test of every program, education and literacy program. So we have to compare whether people understand or the change of behavior before the education after the SMS. So we have the pre-test and post-test. We have the FGD also. We have a deep interview, and we measure in one of the our KPI also the number of complaint and also the time to handling the complaint. So that's one of our measurement. So this is very important, and we always check and evaluate every time, Pak Haji.
Thank you, Pak. Maybe just a follow-up question. I think based on your assessment, do you think the current literacy programs are already enough, or is it too much, or it's not enough, Pak?
Well, the innovation always change and growing rapidly. It is a permanent program. Yeah. So we cannot just say this is enough or not enough because this is always happening. So since the innovation and technology growing rapidly, we have to do the consumer literacy and empowerment to have to increase. In my opinion, this is still not enough because as we see that previously we think people with low education and literation were prone to the scam and phishing, but in practice, it could happen to anyone, right? Even the most educated one, even the professor, they got scammed also. So my friend who's graduated from PhD just got scammed because he received the WhatsApp impersonating myself. Your picture is there, your number, how you speak like you, and everything like you. And you try to you ask to investment, and nothing is you. And after he transferred the money, and he just realized it just I got scam. Yeah, so he called me, and that's it's not about education also, but how we have to make people aware about the use of digital technology, Pak.
Okay, thank you, Pak Iwan. I think the schedule is until 5:25. Now it's 5:24, so I guess let's just stop here and let's wrap up the session with some closing remarks from each of the speaker. I think let's go back to the topic about the social dimension or social sustainability of digital finance. How do we balance digital finance and social? How to make digital finance socially responsible? So probably just a couple of closing remarks from the speaker, Pak Roni, Pak Iwan, and then Pak Andri.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mas Aji. So I think a common theme being brought up by other speakers and also questions arise from the attendance, the importance of educating the borrowers, right? So I think this is not this is supposed to be a continuous effort by all stakeholders. We should promote smart lending, right? Meaning, you should not borrow money for, consumptive purposes only, right? So you have to use it wisely. And then I agree, there should be some measurable, so there should be some indicators or something that could measure how successful our financial literacy programs. We should get a statistic, for example, how many of these borrowers that graduates, from borrowing from a fintech lending, and now they're being welcomed by banking institutions, right? That's one indicator that we could use, because that's actually the main objective of fintech lending is to find to serve all the unbanked and underserved, and hopefully they graduate. They show that they're disciplined in fulfill their financial obligations, so they could be served by banks or multi-finance company for their much a bigger amount of loans that they need for whatever usage. Thank you, Mas Haji.
Thank you, Pak Iwan.
Thank you, Pak. From the side of the regulator here, there are 4 things maybe that is important in balancing the digital technology. First is the rules, the comprehensive rules is how we as a regulator have to improve the regulation accordance to the international best practice and also the innovation of technology. So the rules and the guidance of the regulation is very important. And the second is how to increase the consumer empowerment, to increase the consumer understanding about the product, the benefit, the risk, and the cost, and also how to develop the education strategy, program, and business model. And the third is the effective handling of the consumer complaint. This is very important also for the regulator, because if the consumer complaint, they need to know where to go, how to go. So we need to strengthen the complaint handling, carry it through the development of the infrastructure, and also how to make easy to consumer to submit complaint to the regulators. And the fourth is the one that also important is the implementation of supervision. Supervision for promoting behavior. Supervision is very important for us, the regulation, which focus on designing, compiling, delivering information, making agreement product recipes, also handling and resolving complaint. Thank you, Pak Haji.
Thank you, Pak Iwan and Pandri.
Thank you, Paji. Yeah, just to summarize, I think there is a multi-pronged approach that is necessary here to really ensure social sustainability. First of all, as a tech company, I think it's very important that we always try to make sure our products and features are safe for use, so protect the users at the start. And also going back to the point of digital literacy, Google will continue to invest heavily in user education and digital readiness to answer the question of, when does it become too much? It's a really difficult question to answer, like both my esteemed speakers have mentioned, but we really have to continue trying, right? And through our organization, we look to provide millions in grants to nonprofit organizations across APAC to really continue the efforts and make sure it is a scaled one that is continuous and not something that can be forgotten very easily. So continuously supporting anti-fraud education and awareness program is really very important for us. And last but not least, as I mentioned earlier, it's a whole of society effort as well, meaning the continued partnership, between private, public institutions, CSOs, think tanks like yourselves is really important, and continuous learning from each other, signal sharing is also key. So these types of webinars, events, platforms is really something that is quite valuable to us as well. So thank you, Baji.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause to all the speakers. In silent, we can hear it. Thank you. Yeah, I think we have a message from our support from our supporter from GIZ. Pak Ian, do you have anything to say to close the discussion, Ian?
No, nothing in particular, but thank you very much for the engaging discussion. It was really, really nice to listen to all of your insights. Terima kasih banyak. Thank you so much for your insights shared. And yeah, we're looking forward to continue the innovative and important discussion with all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Return it to Mbak Martia or the MC,
Yep.
please. Yeah.
Thank you, Mas Haji. Thank you to all of today's esteemed speakers, and of course the participants that also joining the discussions. This has been such an insightful discussion, I believe, highlighting some compelling examples of how collaborations and shared responsibility among stakeholders play a crucial role in building a safe digital finance ecosystem, not only in Indonesia, but also everywhere, especially for vulnerable communities. So yeah, it's been a great start to CIPS DigiWeek 2025. So if you missed the other two sessions today, don't worry. They will be available soon on the CIPS YouTube channel. So you can just Google it and then you can find our YouTube channels. And yeah, that wraps up the first day of CIPS DigiWeek, but we're just getting started. More exciting sessions are coming in the next few days, all centered around our main theme, shared responsibility, redefining stakeholders' roles in the digital era. So tomorrow's lineup for DigiWeek 2025 is even more exciting. We'll dive deeper into the theme of shared responsibility in digital safety and rights. So there will be 3 sessions. The first one will be panel discussions about Indonesia's digital leap, improving data governance and reinforcing online trust. And then we will have youth closed door roundtable, charting Indonesia's digital progress. And then in the afternoon, we will have panel discussions, building a safe digital space for children. So 2 of these sessions are open to the public and can be joined online. So if you want to register yourself or you want to know more about the full program and sessions details, you can visit www.chips-indonesia.org or simply scan the QR code on your screen. And as mentioned earlier, all the key insights from DigiWeek will be compiled into a policy communique, which will be available on our website starting June 12, 2025. Yeah, and lastly, thank you once again for being part of today's conversations. I am Martia Litna, and on behalf of the CIPS team, I wish you a pleasant rest of the day, and we look forward to welcoming you again tomorrow. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.